Alright, today's video I've titled "The Internet Loves Drama." I gotta say, I've read the majority of the comments post the brief explanation that I give about the whole Swiftie and I situation, and you guys have gone off the deep end with your theories, your judgments, and everything else to such a degree that I'm just gonna tell you what the damn story is, because you guys are so way off, your conclusions are so ridiculous that I have to just clarify it. So let me start at the very beginning. June 30th, I have a friend of mine, name is Chris, that is a recuperating cancer patient. He had a stage 4 cancer, it was basically a tumor of the shoulder, spread to being a lung cancer, and he was getting a spread that was going up to his brain. So he had gone through chemotherapy, and as I said, it's a surviving cancer patient, which I hadn't seen in quite a while. So that day, on the 30th, I had spoken to him and said, hey, listen, how about we go meet up downtown somewhere and see each other for a little while. I haven't seen you in a while. Bring your girl along and we can hang out, chit chat, whatever. Since he's a mutual friend of Paco and Ernesto, I asked both of them, I asked Paco, hey, do you want to come? We're going to meet up with Chris. He hasn't seen you in a while. He wants to see you. He brought Ernesto, which Chris also knows. Paco also wanted to invite John. Now, John has zero affiliation with Chris. He was just basically a tag along for the night. I didn't invite him because I've had a negative experience with him before when we go out. So if it's my night that I planned, I don't want John around. He just behaves, like I said, very impulsively and causes problems, which I'll give you that story also in this video. So we get downtown, I pick up John, we go to Paco's house, and from there we go and take off to downtown. I meet my friend Chris downtown at a club or at a bar. The ironic thing is that as we're driving, Ernesto's in the back saying, hey, you know who I saw a couple of weeks ago? I said, who? Your ex-girlfriend. He goes, I saw your ex-girlfriend 2 weeks ago. I said, okay, cool. Didn't think anything of it. We get downtown, we park, we're walking towards the club, and I see a friend of mine named Sean, which I haven't seen in years. We used to ride motorcycles together and everything else way back in the day. So we start chatting. He goes, hey man, guess who I saw a couple of days ago? So I go, okay, who? He goes, your ex-girlfriend. So I'm like, all right, that's 2 for 2. Kind of coincidence. We get to this bar, which a friend of mine owns. We get to it. We go in and we get to the back of the bar. Now, the 2 bartenders there and the person that runs the bar are good friends of mine as well. So basically when I go in, I raise my hand and the bartender knows exactly what to give me as far as what my drink is. So we get towards the back of the bar, and I think it was Paco said, hey, don't look now, but your ex-girlfriend is here. I said, are you shitting me? I said, where? He goes, at the end of the bar. So what I did is I turned my back towards where she was at, because I'm thinking I just don't want any kind of involvement. John overheard that it was my ex-girlfriend, so he was trying to be funny, and he goes and tries to talk to her. She recognized him, I'm assuming from one of his videos. Now the problem here is this. This is an ex-girlfriend of mine from 10 years ago, and we had a very tumultuous relationship. So we haven't spoken, it was very sour note, and I just didn't want anything. I had severed that relationship and I hadn't revived it, so to speak. And she had attempted on multiple occasions to get in touch with me through Facebook, but I just didn't reply because I didn't want any further contact or conflict or drama with her specifically. So John goes over there, comes back and says, hey, she recognized me. How did she know that? I'm like, probably from your videos. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, great. I'm with my friends, I'm with my friend Chris, his girlfriend, Paco's there, Ernesto's there, a couple of people that I knew were there. So I turned back to the bar when John says that, so I basically gave my back to him. I get my drink, and next to me comes her sister. And she said, hey, how are you doing? I go, I'm doing well. Mind you, I haven't seen her in 10 years. She was probably in her 12 or 13 years old when I last saw her, so she's 23, 24, so I didn't quite recognize her. So she said, hey, can I buy you a drink? I said, sure. She goes, do you know who I am? I said, I have no clue. She's like, I'm your ex-girlfriend's sister. So I'm like, oh, so how are you doing? So I'm being cordial at this point. So I turn around and that's my ex-girlfriend. So now we have to sit there and play nice, be social. So I wasn't really in the mood, it took the wind out of my sails, so to speak, when she was involved in the group. So I continued to drink and I got pretty drunk. Her friend, which I'm not going to disclose her name, her friend and I got into an argument over a couple of things. One of them had to do my ex-girlfriend, and the other one had to do other topics that we were getting argument of. And I was drunk, so I was kind of belligerent, and I was obviously getting into an argument with her. They left after the argument. We said, well, the club is closing down. It was 2:30 by the time I walked out of the club. John, Paco, and Ernesto are outside. John's upset, saying, hey man, you ruined my night. I'm thinking, what the hell are you talking about? That had absolutely zero to do with you. You don't know anybody there. You don't know my ex-girlfriend. You don't know her friend that I do know. You don't know Chris. You don't know his girlfriend. You don't know anybody there. And you're the one that engaged my ex-girlfriend to come and talk to the fucking crew. So it's your damn fault to begin with anyway. So he goes, you're going to argue with me on this? I go, there's nothing to argue, John. It's like, it had nothing to do with you. So he goes, well, I want nothing to do with it. I said, well, then just say that. He goes, well, I don't want to be involved with it. I said, okay, problem. No problem. Now, in John's world, when he says, I don't want to be involved, it's basically him saying, I'm severing relationship altogether. So I knew what it meant. I'm like, whatever. We get back home. I drive. Even though I drove John from his house to Paco's house, Paco drove him back because John didn't want to be driven back by me. So I said, okay, no problem. Paco can drive you back. The next day, I go on my Skype. I logged into Diablo for a little bit, and obviously we have each other on several different things as friends. I was removed from all of them, so he made it very clear that it was serious. So I just kind of abided by it. I said, no problem. We had some pending business that I had done for him, so I made sure that he got that. I gave him the XSplit licenses that I had, which a lot of you that are on Swifty's channel probably got some of those licenses that was done with XSplit. I'm the one that basically said, hey, I got your licenses from talking to the contact that I established, let me give those to you. And also, he was supposed to go to the Comic Cons. I said, do you want to go? The company was going to pay for your trip to go out there. He goes, no, I don't want to go. I said, okay, no problem. I'll let the company know. So I finished my business side of things just to say, okay, we're not talking, but I'm going to make sure that this pending business that I started, we finish it, because obviously it's no fault of the company what's happening between John and I. So I made sure that that was wrapped up, and I had a final answer for them, whether it was yay or nay on John's part. So that's basically how this whole thing happened. And since then, we haven't spoken. Now, this is the second time that this has happened with John. The time prior to that, we ended up going to a different club, which is called Club B, or Suite B, downtown. Again, we're with a group of our friends, not John's friends. I'm not going to name their names, but it was a pretty large group of us that we were hanging out. John happened to be tagging along because Paco invites him whenever he goes because they're close friends. We get to this club and we're hanging out as a group. There's probably 10 or 12 of us hanging on this corner side of the bar because we also know the owner of the club. So we're hanging out and there's a birthday party on the left-hand side. Now, John had just met a friend of mine called Elliot. Just met him that night, had never seen him before. He thinks it's funny to go over to where the party's at, and they have balloons with helium in them that are hanging up towards the ceiling. So he takes one of the balloons off and ties it onto his belt loop. Pretty innocent, something that he finds funny. However, it wasn't funny to the girl from the birthday party. Now, she's with about 15 people. So she sees as Elliot walks away from that side of the room that the balloon is moving. So she goes to grab the balloon. Obviously, it tugs on Elliot, who's not aware that the balloon is tied to him. So he just basically, as a reaction, grabs on his pants like somebody's tugging on him. The girl yanks and slaps him. So now we're in a fight. So that room comes over here. Our room basically is like, what the hell's going on? I wasn't aware what the fuck was going on. So we end up getting in a fight. Elliot's sister gets hit. Elliot gets hit. Somebody else in our group gets hit. And it was just a fiasco over something stupid, which is, let me be funny and tie a balloon on somebody's belt loop. But he didn't think at all about any consequences that could have happened because of that action. And that's exactly what I'm pissed off about with him, because post the fact of that night ending, the next day, I have no clue how, somehow she got a hold of my cell phone number. Now, mind you, I didn't give it to her. I haven't responded to her, so either somebody in the group gave it to her. I don't know who, if it happened, but the next day, I was receiving text messages from her. Inappropriate messages. So she knows by my Facebook that I have a girlfriend. She even knows her name. So the fact that she's sending me text messages, lewd ones, sexual ones, including pictures, it just wasn't appropriate. Because it's disrespectful to my relationship. If you know I'm with somebody, why would you send that to me? You know, my girlfriend could very well, as she uses my phone when she's with me, could have made a call, gotten a text message, and now I'm in a precarious position as to why is this girl sending you text messages, which I don't need issues in my relationship. So I had to deal with the text messages and the phone calls for quite a few days. I told my girlfriend what happened, so make sure that, listen, I'm in the clear. I haven't done anything wrong. Just in case you see some of these text messages, this is the reason why you might see them. So I made sure that I eradicated that possibility from inflicting my relationship. But it was still a couple of days that I was stressed out. So I'm thinking, I know how she is. I know what she's done in the past. I know what it is to have her back in my life, or at least her wanting to be back in my life. And I didn't want any part of it because I know what it's going to cost for me and my relationship. So I didn't want any part of it. So those are two things that I'm upset about. So now that you guys have gotten the full fucking story, I hope you're happy. I hope that it makes no difference. It's not going to change our relationship that we don't have anymore. If you guys feel satisfied by the information, then you know what? Thumbs up to you. Those of you that try to come up with what the situation was, you know, try again, because obviously a lot of you weren't even close to what the topic was. Those of you that are passing judgment, calling me names, I've got one finger for you, and it's not going to be the index. So those who are supporting me, thank you for your support. I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great rest of the day.
First name Trouble, middle name Trouble.